My name is Amy Skinner. This is my critical assignment for Kinesiology 302 at California Baptist University, and my topic is men's failing health. So by health, I mean mental, physical, and social health. At this point in history, men are failing mentally, physically, and in life in general comparable to women. What sparked my interest in this topic was a video by Tucker Carlson that was shown on the news, and he had the statistics for all of these rates. That's low graduation rates and high dropout rates, high incarceration rates, high suicide rates, high obesity rates, high drug use, low testosterone, fertility issues, and higher diagnosis of psychological disorders. So this is all higher than is shown in women at this point in history. So my thesis for this project is, in a world where men have always been looked at with an upper hand, and at a time where that is starting to change, men are failing both physically, mentally, and socially. Main issues that I'm going to cover are high suicide rates in men and obesity in men. For high suicide rates, statistics that I found from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention show that men die by suicide 3.5 times more often than women. White males accounted for 7 out of 10 suicides in 2016. And the suicide rate is higher in middle-aged white men. They don't keep track of attempted suicides, but based on the information that they do have, they can see that women attempt suicide more and men are successful with it. They have this information based on hospital record that people come in with self-harm, but it could be intentional or unintentional. I read an article on the suicide in the Air Force. So this is a 14-year study that was done on active duty and officers of the Air Force. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in active duty members. The study broken down in the statistics into subcategories of age, race, gender, and rank. And that's the first time that it's been done in that way to kind of differentiate between all of the members of the Air Force. The results of the study showed that enlisted men had significantly higher rates than officer men in all women categories in the Air Force. So with the suicide rates, we can look at all of the other statistics from my first slide of obesity, of dropout rates, of all of that, and see, that with all of these things going on, it makes sense that the suicide rate is higher. So we're going to look at obesity and fertility decreasing. Obesity is a big issue among men and women, but based on this chart that I have here, it shows 2014, 15, and 16 that men are significantly higher than women are for obesity at this point in history. Also, obesity is causing low fertility rates in men. So a study was done on reproductive age men, and it showed that their eating habits can influence the sperm quality. So the dietary fatty acids are good, but high saturated fat and low polyunsaturated fatty acid diet reduce the quality of sperm, resulting on low fertility rates. And high saturated fat is normally what causes someone to become obese, that they eat all of that food constantly and not anything that's healthy or do any exercise that goes along with it. So it makes sense that those two are correlated. We can also look at dropout rate, all of that, and say, okay, so they have lower paying jobs because they didn't graduate. They're eating fast food and junk food because that's what they can afford because of those jobs. So kind of a lot of these topics are interrelated in some way or another. Now, my hot button topic is lack of competition, So, a little background information on this. I found one certain source that I talked about here, but there were multiple blogs of parents who have these views on these things. So, my background information is that parents believe that their children should not be exposed to competition in school or after school activities. They believe that there's no such thing as healthy competition and there should be none at all. They say that it lowers the self-esteem and makes their children hostile. Their ideas of how to raise their children without competition include avoiding comparing your children to others, avoiding competition, and loving and accepting them unconditionally. Well, I'm not a parent, but I would say that loving and accepting your kid unconditionally should come no matter what. That it shouldn't matter based on whether they're in competitive sports or not. So, and that's something that children have been involved in forever. So, we have to wonder how that will affect their development. Because they say that, it makes their self-esteem low. But, is that only ones with parents or coaches that go too far with it? We need more studies on that to make it a worthwhile discussion. So the implications of not involving your children in competition, they lack the development in physical, social, and cognitive skills that are learned through competitive sports. Young boys and men who are suppressed when it comes to expressing their competitiveness and aggressions have shown to become outcasts as a result of not being socialized correctly, and they're more likely to be involved in crime because they don't have this thing that keeps their mind working and keeps them busy, so they result to crime. Another discussion that I want to talk about is toxic masculinity. So, right now in society, masculinity is looked at as a toxic action that they don't want people to be masculine anymore, and that making someone show those behaviors is wrong. It said that there's not a difference between how men and women are emotionally, which is a big part of it. And masculine things like boys don't cry is toxic to their development. And it's said to be a major reason for suicide because they have so much of this pressure and they're not allowed to show emotion. In prisons, toxic masculinity disallows for prisoners to get the mental health that they need. They have a men do not need help attitude, and they're resistant to therapy. It's because in a men's prison, there's so many different personalities, and they want to be tough. They want to show that they're not weak, but by going to these therapies, somehow they think that it's going to show that they're weak and that they're going to be punished by other prisoners for it. The institutional dynamics intensify toxic masculinity. So, risk factors of all of these things going on with men, mentally, physically, is mass shootings. So, as we can see right here, males account for 94 mass shootings in the United States. 94 out of 96. 96 of them, men. But also, that one down there in the corner was male and female, and that was the San Bernardino shootings that happened a few years ago in December. So 95 involved men. So that's almost 100% of mass shootings have been executed by men. Like, we can look at that number and say there's something wrong. There's something wrong mentally, physically. There's something wrong with going on that's allowing men to do these actions. This record has been kept from 1982 to just February of this year. So it's a broad time. We can say that this is accurate information and that it's been going on for a long time, and we need to do something about it. A majority of the mass shooters come from a home without a father. So I think that that's a big thing that we need to look at because they have this father figure, this masculine person to look for guidance, and the ones that don't have that result, not all of them obviously, but a majority of these people in this study have committed mass shootings that grew up without a father. So how we can help? It's such a broad discussion. It's hard to pinpoint one thing that is going to help. So let's look at prevention techniques. So we need to educate boys at a young age. That's where it starts. We need to start young so they develop into healthier men. So we need to teach them healthier habits, physically, take care of yourself, discuss mental health as well, because that's a whole part of health. And a lot of these issues are for mental behavior as well. And we need to say that it's okay. It's okay to talk about. It's okay to discuss. And we need to not punish them for boy behavior because putting them down all the time just kind of makes for all of these issues that are going on to come out and to continue into adulthood. So addressing these things at a younger age will hopefully allow for healthier development into men. So that's where we need to start. Now for what's in play, it's hard to say for everything if there's one thing that will cover all of these topics that is in play. But there's a lot of men's programs in play. There's doctors you can go to, but the hardest part is getting the word out about these programs because a lot of them are topics that we don't talk about, and for getting men to actually go. So I read once that a lot of surveys that have to do with health or really anything, that men are less likely to say that they have something wrong with them or that they experienced this health issue. That they're less likely to go to a doctor. And that's a big issue. Is we need to get men to actually go and get help, because if they're not cooperative, there's nothing that we can do, and we need to figure something out. They need to want to get help. So some alternatives: we need to raise more awareness that this is going on. We're aware, but we need to make more people more aware so they'll want to get involved and help. We need to remove the stigma, especially with mental health. There's still it's coming out more, and more people will discuss it and admit, oh, I was diagnosed with this or that. But there's still a stigma on top of it, and we need to get rid of that and discuss our health mentally, physically, socially. We need to discuss it, let it out there. It makes it easier to deal with, to handle. It's not building up inside of you. And maybe incentives. I don't know how well it will work for everything, but come to 10 sessions and you get a weekend away, or 10 sessions you get tickets for an NFL game, something that'll want to get men to actually go to it. That's something that they will enjoy. So my conclusion: something needs to be done. We need to figure it out. We can't live without them. Something needs to be done. We're aware of the problems. We need to get the word out more. Boys turn into men. We need to allow them to develop into healthy men. We cannot survive this world without men. So let's figure it out. Let's figure it out together. At least we're aware of the problem now. And here I have my references. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you.